Hello, my name is Jacques-Henri Taylor. Why is anecdotal evidence so compelling to us? Why is it so, make us feel so comfortable? Well, it's because we use it every day. It's our shortcut, it's our easy way of making decisions. And it's pretty good for simple things like determining what's the best Italian restaurant to go to. You ask a bunch of people and they say, it was great, it was fantastic, I would go there again. Oh, it's awesome for kids. No, it's horrible for kids. Whatever it is, they give you their stories of their experience there. Now, a scientist would say, okay, let's gather all of the evidence, people who say they like it, people say that they didn't like it, and then they would come up with a probability that your experience there is going to be good based on the evidence that they collected. Right? So it's not a good thing, bad thing. It's just scientists typically give you a probability, whereas anecdote leads people to this feeling of certainty. And we as human beings, we love the idea of certainty. But folks, I think it would be easy to think that anecdotal evidence is harmless. They're simply testimonials saying that somebody had a really good experience, or validating the current status quo. And when scientific evidence is either lacking or is contrary to the anecdotal evidence, sometimes that can cause some real fear and panic. But I want to give an example of how tragic anecdotal evidence can be, how misleading it can be, and how devastating it can be. There's a doctor by the name of Dr. Charles Drew, and he was a black surgeon who came up with a way of separating red blood cells from plasma. And what he found was that when you're able to separate these two, you could give somebody this blood plasma. You could store it, first of all. You give somebody this blood plasma in emergency situations. At the time, there were no blood banks. They didn't have the ability to preserve blood for long periods of time. So this was a huge deal, this discovery of blood plasma. Now, at least that happened in about 1939, I believe is when at least his book was published. And around 1906, another scientist, Leinsteiner, I believe his last name is Dr. Leinsteiner, he discovered that there are different types of blood, A, B, and O. So that was, he was able to discover the reason why you couldn't just give a transfusion just from one human to another human being, okay? All right. Anyway, flash forward back to Dr. Drew's time. In the early 40s, right, we had World War II, and the British needed a lot of this plasma, and Dr. Drew figured out a way of getting all this blood together and getting all the plasma to these British soldiers. So our armed forces decide, well, we need to have some plasma too. So the American Red Cross hires Dr. Drew to be in charge of this plasma drive. Well, at the time, segregation was alive and well in this country. Blacks over here, whites over there. Why was segregation a reality? Not because of scientific evidence, because of anecdote. Those people are different. They're just not like us. This belief was so pervasive that even in the face of scientific evidence, they would not take blood from black soldiers, remove the plasma, and give it to white soldiers. They told Dr. Drew that it had to be separate, otherwise he couldn't do it. Guess what he did? He resigned. He resigned. This was a guy who was using science to show the efficacy of something that he discovered that could save millions of lives. And then even in the face of science, the anecdotal stories, the social norms dominated. So I think we should take a lesson from Dr. Drew. I know that for well over a decade, I allowed anecdote to sweep me away. I mean, it had me in its full grip. just the story, just the testimonial. That was enough for me. Until I started to apply scientific methodology, could I really start to see the fullness and the complexity and the wonder and the opportunity that lies in the truth, that lies in scientific probability. Let's commit to a scientific process so that we can take the anecdotes and really examine them for the processes, for the relationships that are in there.